Hello everyone, Chris Petri here, and a special hello to Brian. We're doing boats today, and Brian asked a good question about boats. How do I tackle boats? And I really enjoy. I think boats are probably one of my favorite subjects to paint. And so here I just have a simple photograph, actually a painting across from me, a Charles Reed painting from one of his books, and I'm just sort of copying and using his painting as a guide for myself to paint this. Uh, Boat painting here, and this has dried. It's been about a half an hour, and I really didn't do much more to it when I left off on part one. So part two, we're pretty much picking up exactly where we left off. I might have added a touch of color, some cadmium yellow, and that's really about it. Maybe a little bit of cerulean blue and some viridian green, I think, too. I use a little bit of viridian green. So I try to, in large areas of color, I like to mix in a lot of colors from my palette into those areas to make them look more interesting. So we'll get back into the swing of things here. I wet a paper towel. Keep the palette clean. Fresh colors look great. Let's keep our palette is basically our painting. So whatever is our palette is looking like, that's what our painting's gonna look like, really. So once we've done some of the work here, we take a break, clean up the palette, and we'll come back and start again, and I'll just put in the palette the same colors we've been using: French ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, a little bit of viridian green, cadmium red, yellow ochre, a little bit of cadmium yellow, a little bit of burnt umber, maybe a little bit of raw burnt umber and burnt sienna. And I think we're ready to start back in again. And I noticed reflections can sometimes be a little difficult. So here I went across my reflections are like definitely another, there's books written about reflections probably, and there's definitely videos on reflections, but essentially the reflection of this boat in the water, the reflection is going to go this way, so it goes the opposite way of the shape. So if the shape is coming this way, then the reflection is going to tend to turn this way a little bit. So I went past a little bit. I'll take some white paint to correct that later. Okay, we're going to get back started here. Okay, next I think we can do some really cool cadmium red. Straight cadmium red from the palette. A bit of cadmium yellow. And then I'm going to put some mineral violet. Mineral violet will be good to and I'm just touching in a little bit of color where the two boats are sort of bumping into each other here a little bit. So the white side of this boat picks up some of that color off this boat over here. All right, that looks good. I think I'm going to go and do some more detail here. Here I'm graying down some of the cadmium red with a little bit of mineral violet, just for a variation, a little change. Watercolor seems to really enjoy a lot of variation in tonal values and colors. Again, a simple composition here. We're not going to go too detailed. We're going to try to keep it simple. And this is looking pretty good. I'm going to go with a larger brush now, maybe. Actually, I think I'm going to stick with my number 6 here right now. And olive green, cobalt blue, burnt umber. And I think I'm just going to do some shapes in the back here, which is the distant shoreline. And of course, I'm mixing up the colors. Go for some golds here, some yellow ochre mixing in. Maybe a larger block of yellow ochre. There. Cerulean blue. And I'm just going across the painting with the flow of the mountains, and there's some maybe distant buildings there, so we can put some square and rectangular shapes that would give us the distant shapes of the buildings perhaps across the way. Again, I'm changing up my colors, trying to vary everything. And seems to be a convincing distant shoreline there. Okay, so we've now added in our distant shoreline. Very simple, just basically straight across, level across the page. And we mixed up our colors. We didn't just fill in one single color. That would look very boring. We keep a nice variation of colors as we go across. Same colors all the time we use. Sometimes we'll step back, we'll look at the painting and say, maybe we can add a little more of similar colors to the background distant shoreline that we used in this part. So that means we would need a little more blue. So if I just add a little bit of blue, a touch here and there, then it seems that everything harmonizes nicely. So we can use lots of different colors as long as we harmonize them all together. Almost like we're doing a patchwork of interesting shapes and colors and so forth. Now, breaks are good, and I think I'm just going to do a little more. I think we'll do some water. I'm going to, very important, a little bit of water on the paper towel, and we keep our palette nice and clean so we have nice fresh colors to work with. Again, I'm using pretty much three brushes, 4, 6, and a 10. sable brushes, watercolor sable brushes, round brushes. I'm going to put some water in my palette. A little bit of Viridian green, cobalt blue. A little bit of mineral violet. And we'll touch in some water. Water is flat, a little choppy here. You might be able to see that some of my Viridian paint in my palette boxes got a little bit of a granulation to it. I'm not going to worry about it too much. And we're going across the page here. The paint's going to get a little darker as we come closer to the front of the painting, to the foreground. And we can always go in and do more detail. While the water is still wet, I'm going to touch in some Viridian green into the blue, to the cobalt blue. Maybe a little more mineral violet. And I'm adding a little bit of yellow ochre here just to... So as you can see, it's looking pretty good. We have a nice feel for the water. Okay, now that we have the water blocked in pretty good, we'll let this dry and then we'll take a break and come back and do the sky.